Hey, Cassie Anderson here. I'm at about 3.5 years TSW, and I haven't been on in a long time on video, and I even stopped blogging for a little while, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I did, because there were times when I wanted to research where people were at in their walk at my stage, on my timeline, and sometimes it comes up short, and now I get it. People stop blogging sometimes because there's no new news, right? And I didn't realize that going into withdraw. I know that now, being this far along. But it can be kind of devastating being at a standstill, plateauing, not finding much progress, or not being as far along as you'd hoped, or even being healed at this point. So anyways, I thought I'd hop on just to kind of share where I'm at. My skin has taken a step backwards, and that was really surprising to me. In the very beginning of TSW, I just remember researching, kind of going off of what I was seeing with other people's stories and their timeline of when they were finding that they were symptom-free. I was guessing that maybe my skin would be better at about 27 months-ish. I wanted to be realistic and kind of give myself a cushion around that time, but I was pretty much telling everybody from the get-go that it'll take a couple years for me to withdraw, knowing that it could be a few years, but I figured it would be more realistic, that people would believe me a little bit easier if I said 2 years. I don't know. Maybe it was myself, like I was trying to talk myself into doing this because I can do 2 years, maybe not 4. I don't know. Anyhow, so from the get-go, my goal on my blog and everything was a countdown ticker from to get me through the first 1,000 days of withdrawal. Now that would have been ample time over the 27 months, but I figure if I could do 1,000 days without steroids, I could go the rest of my life without them. And so that was my goal, which that would have been September 29th, 2019 would have been my 1,000 day milestone. And in the very beginning, I'm projecting that I'm going to be better on my 1,000 day celebration. And in fact, that very week that I was planning that party, I started getting different skin spots. Okay, so here I was in the beginning of TSW. I started to flare on my face first, down my torso, down to my legs and ankles, and then I started to heal ankles, healed legs, healed torso for the most part. My upper torso is still kind of iffy, but my arms, gradually kind of went whiter instead of redder, and then and my face had healed, but it left me with just my hands and wrists that were really my hands and wrists and chest were kind of the hardest parts that weren't really healing in a timely fashion, right? At my 1,000 day mark that week, there was rashes that started creeping up my arms and on the inside of my elbows. Now, at that point, I hadn't had anything on my forearms and inside my elbows for a long time. So that was really surprising me. So I thought maybe it was just a fluke, maybe something that I ate, something that I was exposed to that made me react like that. So I didn't think much of it. But it was after that it was week after week. It wasn't going away, and then weeks turned into months, and months turned into a half a year, and here I am. It's been a very hard journey since I'm talking to you right now in the summertime, right? So fall and winter and spring were very difficult for me because of the fact that I started getting this rash on my arms and inner elbows, and it wasn't going anywhere. And in fact, my hands and wrists were getting worse as well. So I wish I could tell you some really great news right now, but the reality is that I'm not getting better. I've plateaued and gotten a little worse. It's not something I want to hear. It's probably not something you want to hear. But I want to show you where I'm at with my skin. So you can see I still have that really thick, leathery skin and some, I don't know if you can see in the light. This arm is a little bit worse at the moment. I'm trying to see what you're seeing because I can't flip my camera on this particular video setting. And I've gotten like a lot of tiny blisters that form under the skin, and then they pop through and they're very painful. And I've always kind of gotten them on my fingers as well. And there is a term for that particular eczema. It starts with a D. My doctors have never brought it to my attention, but I met somebody recently who she's like, oh yeah, I have fill in the blank eczema. I wish I would know it right now so I could tell you. But I was like, just Google like blisters on palms or something if you have that. Because I was like, that's really interesting that I've had it my whole life and my doctors have never diagnosed me with that. So, and I just always thought, particularly since withdrawal, that maybe it was the steroids trying to burst forth. But it's not. It's just a kind of eczema, which is interesting. So yeah, it's really hard because, we use our hands and wrists for everything. And when your hands and wrists don't want to work and they're constantly sore and inflamed and itching and bleeding and whatever, it creates a lot of turmoil in everyday chores and everyday tasks. One of the things that I've been running up against is it is July right now, and we've been in the pandemic since March, and I nearly lost my job over having such sensitive skin because I can't use chemical cleaners like the average person. And with the heightened standards right now with trying to keep the coronavirus at bay, there's a lot of cleaning to be CDC compliant. I work at a library. There's a lot of exchange of books. We're quarantining books, but as we kind of move through reopening phases, we're allowing patrons back into the building, and more books, more germs, deliveries that are cross-contaminating between libraries. There's a lot that we have to be mindful of, and there's a lot of cleaning that has to take place. And right now I'm covered with the Americans with Disability Act, and so my boss is accommodating me by allowing me to work remotely from home right now, but eventually I need to get back into the building. And what was I gonna say? The more we reopen, the more people will be there, the more cleaning has to take place until we're done with the high risk season of COVID. However short or long that is, we don't know. We'll figure that out as the timeline happens. But I said I nearly lost my job because my boss needs me on the front line. She needs somebody there helping in person, and we're already short a small staff. And so without me there, that makes a significant impact on others. So luckily, my boss is willing to recreate a job for me, if that makes sense, to accommodate me, and then hire somebody else in the meantime to fill the job I'm currently supposed to be doing. Which right now, since everything's virtual, it's not an issue, but when we start interacting in person, it will become a bigger issue, if that makes sense, having less social distancing and more cleaning happening. Anyhow, long explanation there, but I'm still eating healthy like I always have. I've always spent a lot of money on clean organic food, clean organic high quality premium supplements, and I invest hundreds of dollars every month into natural skincare that's nutrition for the skin. It's not just something to slather on. It really is beneficial. And I've tried a lot of different brands of things, and very little has ever agreed with my skin. I do use a facial regimen on my hands and forearms, and so it's kind of a few items that a kit that works well for me. I know that everybody has their own reactions and what causes that. And so this particular brand that I use, it's a Shackley Youth brand. It's very helpful to me. In fact, if I run out, I usually flare a little bit harder, so I know it's working and it's helping. It's not the cure or the end all, right? But it is, it's allowing me more comfort than I would have without. And then I am still using ice packs. I have them on during the day and during the night, particularly during the summer months. I'm doubling up on like strapping ice packs on my arms, so that I can cover my whole wrist to my elbow. Cryomax is the brand that I use for the ice packs because they're cold for 8 hours usually. Probably a little less if it's super hot and you have them outside, but inside with the air conditioning they do last, I would say, for 8 hours. Other than that, I can't tell you. Like, I guess withdraw is just withdraw to some degree, that there will be roller coasters and good days and bad days, or good seasons and bad seasons, without any rhyme or reason. I can't explain why I'm flaring and why I've flared for so long, if it's something I'm doing or not doing. I'm just giving it my best. I'm doing everything I know how to do, and the rest is up to God. And I can tell you it's hard every day to keep going, to get my hands wet, to wash my hands, to do dishes, to fill in the blank, you know? I mean, I can't even wear gloves or do hand sanitizer or excessive hand washing. Like, that's the other part of the pandemic that I just can't. My hands are the skin has no integrity from having steroid poisoning for so long. So my skin falls apart very easily, gets very agitated very easily. And I just can't put myself in that predicament. So I have to protect myself and stay inside. I just decided to come outside right now. It's kind of cooled off a little bit. It's a warm breeze. It feels good at the moment, but I know my skin well enough. I can't really be outside, particularly in the sun, for very long. Sun always provokes itching and burning, and it's just not pretty. So I try to avoid the sun as much as I can, or the heat. My skin particularly likes the temperature set around 63, 66 degrees. Anything warmer than that, and my skin is always so hot and irritated and burning that it's not pleasant. I also am still, other warriors can relate to this, I'm sure. I just want to burn my hands under hot water still. There's just a certain, it just feels like it's itching, like, you know, when you get a good scratch in, that's what the hot water feels like to me. It just, when I have that insatiable itch that won't go away, I just feel like that hot temperature will burn it to the point where it like burns the nerve endings or something, where I can't feel it anymore, and it kind of settles down after that. I know it's not the greatest, but that's what my body feels it needs to do to get through those episodes when it happens. And it's usually at least once a day, sometimes more, sometimes 3 times a day. But yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to jump on here to say sorry. It's been so long for those of you who had been loyal followers for so long, and then you're like, what happened to Cassie? I'm still here. I'm still alive. It is emotionally and physically draining, but I know that it will be worth it. I know that last month I was really hard. I cry at least once a day usually, just because it hurts so bad, either physically or emotionally. But last month I remember just kind of watching Care Awards, TSW journey, and just putting my hand up to hers on the screen. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely, like, I didn't have this kind of stuff going on before withdraw. And to see her withdraw pictures and know that her hands and wrists are healed, that brings me hope that my time is coming. It might be a lengthier timeline than her journey or anybody else's that that I'm looking at, reading, researching. And there's people who are taking longer than me too. And, everybody's on that different timeline, and I have to respect that. But I also have to trust that my time will come. I have to have hope. I don't want to give up that hope. So anyways, my plan is to continue trying to heal, let my body do its thing, and try to learn how to be normal and repair itself naturally as best as possible. I want to give my body at least 4 years before I consider any sort of medical intervention, because I know that there are some non-steroidal creams and ointments or injections or orals that could really help my system figure it out. But I don't want to jump into that prematurely. I really do want to give my body enough time. If it's on average, 1 to 4 years to fully withdraw, I want to give myself that full 4 years to really see what happens before I try to intervene. I'm fine trying to do things naturally, but it's the medication that I'm really leery about still, just knowing that if I were put on prescriptions for all my life for over 30 years that were supposed to be helping instead of damaging, what does that look like for the next drug that a doctor would prescribe who has full faith in it being the answer, and then I find out later I'm addicted again or have terrible side effects that are ruining my body? So that's where I'm at. I'd love to hear your comments. Sorry this is such a lengthy video. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.